The US spends on average 8 hours a day consuming media. That means a third of our thinking is TV, podcasts, video games, all decided by someone else to kind of say, you know, this is what's going to go into your brain. Now, is this beneficial to us? I'm not really sure. And the biggest change in my life came when I started actually creating things. And it wasn't because of the actual things I produced, but the change in the way I thought about everything. And I bet it could change your life too. Okay, today I'm going to show you how to go from content consumer to content creator by finding your niche. If you can identify your right place on the internet, you can start a brand, start a business, and start to get attention, all while having fun every single second. Unfortunately, most people take a much less enjoyable and a much less successful approach to an online game that requires 100% commitment. And the right niche doesn't equal success. The right niche for you does. And I've watched hundreds of creators fail on the internet, and the most common reasons are usually information overload, picking the niche because you think it's the most popular or you like the person that created this niche, not being able to differentiate themselves, and being too locked in. They try to copy word for word, image for image, the most popular creators, and then they wonder why they aren't getting the millions of views and clicks like those other creators are. So what happens is it's a race to differentiate themselves at the bottom, and that's just no fun. But here's the better way. Step one, we need to do an info-in analysis. Well, what does that mean? Well, I love Ender's Game, I love the Red Rising series, but I don't really think about those books when I'm reading them. They're kind of fantasy fiction novels that are really enjoyable to read, but I'm not thinking about the story arc, the character development. I'm just reading it and enjoying it. Another thing I consume a lot is kind of health and wellness content. I mean, I've spent 10 plus years studying this stuff. I'm a doctor after all. But I love to read about it on Twitter, academic journals, you know, things like this. And the key thing here is that I often think about these things after I'm done reading them. I'm thinking, okay, did the evidence they provide justify their final conclusion? Have other people been able to replicate this study? Is it possible for me to actually integrate this evidence into my life? And where are the future directions of this specific research going? And if you notice the difference between, you know, my love of Ender's Game versus my love of kind of optimizing sleep and stuff like that, one I'm really thinking critically about and one I'm not. So here's what you need to do. Write down the last 10 things that you watched, listened to, read, or spoke about with someone. And then write down another list of 10 things of what you were thinking about when you were doing the last menial task, like having a shower, or going for a walk, or sitting on a bus. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna compare the two lists and see which 3 or 4 things overlap. And also, which of those 3 to 4 things can you see yourself writing an essay about every week for the next 2 years if you had to. But we're not there yet. Now that we did an info-in analysis, we have to see if people actually care. As a word of encouragement, there's 8 billion people on the planet Earth, and 6 billion of those people are connected to the internet. So if you find something that you're really interested in and you think it's really, really niche-y and not many people are gonna really know about that content, trust me, there's probably someone else in the world that's really interested. And the gating criteria for picking that first niche is you have to be obsessed with this thing. You have to love talking about it. Of course, we can change at a later time, and we also want to see if we can find something that other people are interested in, but if we're not interested in it, it's going to be no fun and it's going to show. Okay, so we have those lists of 20 items from before. We're going to create a new list of maybe 20 to 30 items based on what people should hear from us or want to hear from us. So write down 5 to 10 things that people come to you and ask for guidance or advice on. For example, my parents always come for advice and guidance on how to set up their computers or phone or something like that. And my friends in medical school and also in residency would come up to me and say, how did you set up your kind of Epic, your workspace? Or how did you set up your Anki flashcards to study from? The next thing to think about is what are 5 to 10 things that come much easier to you than it does to other people. For example, I was a pretty competitive and high-level video game player when I was in my teens. When I was in college and medical school, I had really nice study plans and I usually scored pretty well, so I could do that pretty simply and easily. And I'm also very good about getting kind of up to scale on certain things quickly. Like, for example, I can learn about photography pretty quickly. I can learn about coding pretty quickly. I'm pretty good at getting to that first level of kind of understanding. Then the third thing you want to think about is write down another 5 to 10 things where you have extended experience in or professionalism. For example, I'm a doctor. I studied this stuff for, 10 years. I also did some work in healthcare investing at a VC firm. I think the best categories for me, based on those 3 questions, would be tech, health and wellness, or studying. Usually probably one of those 3 things would be good for me to pick. So now you really have all you need. Step 1, you figured out kind of what you want to talk about. Step 2, you figured out what people will care about you talking about. Now you could really start just creating content. And honestly, you would learn way, 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 way more by creating your first piece of content once a week for the next 2 months than, studying this stuff for the next 2 years. But if you want to make sure you're ahead of the game and increase your chances for success when you actually start publishing content, we'll go on to the next 2 steps. So the next step number 3, is you gotta differentiate yourself. So the only reason people are gonna watch your content versus other people's content if they don't know you is because you educate them better or you entertain them better. That's it. Now notice how I said if they don't know you. The important thing here is that hopefully over time, you start to reveal like your personality and kind of your individual style. And then maybe if you're a super amazing, suave, cool, super cool guy, like this guy named Zach Hiley, he's pretty cool, maybe people will start to like be loyal to you and like trust you and kind of like your content and start to watch and come back to your stuff just because you're the one putting it out there. And trust is one of the most important things you can cultivate as a creator or a brand or a business. The final step, and this is the best step, the most fun step, is we're gonna iterate, and iterate. In the beginning, I promise you, no one cares about you, no one will be watching your content, no one's gonna read your stuff. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world, the way of the internet, unless for some reason the internet has some reason to know who you are. You have to be so good they can't ignore you, you have to earn their eyeballs. So hopefully at this point, you've started to make content. So now you can start to really critically analyze your content, and you can use all kind of tools and stuff for this. You can use analytics on your website, YouTube analytics, Twitter analytics, Instagram analytics, and see which pieces of content people are clicking on. Which pieces of content are people interacting with more? Can you identify certain reasons why these people are clicking on these things? Is it the title, the thumbnail, the image, the way you spoke about it in the beginning? The next thing you're gonna do is look at the comments. Look at what people are telling you. And if no one's telling you anything, ask the people that are watching your stuff. What do they like? What do they dislike? What do they wanna see more of? And then the third thing, and this is one of the most important things, think about what you actually like talking about, because you're going to be spending a lot of time either in front of a camera, in front of a keyboard, on the Twitter phone thingy-majiggy. You're going to spend a lot of time doing those things, so figure out which thing you actually get enjoyment out of. But again, you don't get any of these things if you're not publishing. And you are publishing, right? At least once a week at this point, right? But overall, just start putting stuff out there. Just start creating. Switch from a consumer to creator, and I promise you it will change your life. So number 1, what do you like to talk about? What do you like to read about? What interests you? Number 2, what do people actually care about hearing from you? Why should they listen to you as opposed to Joe Schmo? I hear Joe Schmo has some quality stuff. And finally, number 4, you gotta iterate. You gotta iterate, you gotta iterate, you gotta iterate. You gotta keep making things, see what works, see what doesn't. 80-20, pick the things that work and do more of those. And that's it. So yeah, anyway, it's awesome to be like such a cool and well-known YouTuber, like probably one of the best YouTubers of all time, even though I've had, excuse me. Yeah, I'm gonna need that couch. I'm Joe Schmo. I'm very, very special person. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Oh my God. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go watch Joe Schmo's new video. It's awesome. And I will see you on the next one. Is consumption. You email.